Do you find it difficult to incorporate exercise into your busy lifestyle? Well, stick around today because that's what we're going to be chatting about. Hey, I'm Mike,
And I'm Twain.
and we're here on the 40 Plus Fit podcast, which is your guide to turning back the years by rediscovering your strength and inner athlete, because life after 40 is just getting started.
It is, isn't it? And it's funny because I haven't even reached 40 yet. So
So you're just doing it in preparation, right?
yeah, this is more this preparation for it. Uh,
Right. So today we wanted to just chat about some incorporating exercise into a busy lifestyle. Whenever I chat to people about these kind of things, and they say, oh, okay, they need to lose weight, they want to get back into things. Their first mind is, okay, I need to go to the gym, I need to go work out, and it's usually like an hour or 2 hours that I need to spend in the gym so that I can get the best results. Now,
yeah.
for me, I find, okay, if you have the time, fantastic, go ahead. But if you don't, perhaps today we can just discuss like maybe some ways that we do things, or if you have from your experience any tips that you use with your clients with regards to how you help them to integrate exercise into their lifestyles. We can talk about all that today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's definitely a good idea. There's definitely this misconception, right? That you have to spend hours and hours and hours in the gym to get really good results. I mean, the truth is the stuff you see on social media tends to be all the highlight stuff. And so all the fitness people you see on social media are essentially the 0.0001%, I imagine. And a lot of them are people that base their entire career pretty much around fitness. So for them, fitness is the lifestyle, and training an hour, 2 hours in the gym is definitely not out of the question for them. It's part of the job, if it makes sense. But if you are like the rest of us who have actual jobs, businesses to run, other kind of jobs to do, honestly, an hour, 2 hours in the gym is it's a bit much.
That's right. You think about it like in my circle of friends that I have, we have a lot of that have young kids, right?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
like age 0 up till say age 8.
Yeah.
And we find that these like take a lot of time out of your day when you have to go and look after them and do this and do that. But I do find that when we talk about it, like when we actually have a discussion, we overinflate how much time it really takes. So a good example of this is I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he was suggesting is like, oh, he just has no time anymore, has no time. And so I was saying, okay, well, let's have a look at things. Like we want to do some exercise. So let's say we start off with just getting up your step count, right?
Mhm.
So if we can get up your step count, let's say you go instead of driving to the park, you actually walk to the park, which is like behind his house. So you add in some step counts there, all right? Because that's something you naturally would have done already. Then the other thing is like, okay, let's see if we can add in some others, right? So maybe we want to add in, we don't have the time. So what we do is, okay, do you like running? Okay, you do, all right? So let's add in a 15 to 20-minute run in the morning. So it's 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Schedule that into your day in the morning. So that now comes in, and we played with his calendar. And so, hey, actually, I don't really have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
And
just taking the
it's
different perspective and looking at, okay, so how much time is this really going to take out of your day to just go and do this for
yep.
this outcome?
Yep. It's one of those things where um I think when we do say like, oh, I don't have the time, what we're really saying more often than not is just I am feeling so exhausted, and then my perception of what I need to do is a lot, right? So your concept here where you mentioned you help your friend reframe it, I think it's actually the most important thing. Like that's literally the first step. Like being raw and honest with yourself and saying like, do I really not have the time, or is it an energy issue, or is it a perception issue, or is it a combination of all these things? Do I think that I need to do a lot in order to get results? And again, like the use of the step count as the example, I think it's a perfect big like perfect first step to talk about, because getting enough activity is already the main thing that a lot of people don't do. That's literally one of the lowest hanging fruits that you can go and pluck already. Walk around, get your steps up, take the stairs instead of the lift. All these little bits count. In fact, a large part of our daily activity, if you look at the chart of how many calories you burn in a day, a large part of that activity, like it's divided into two sections, right? One is actual exercise related calorie burn, and the other part is non-exercise activity calorie burn. And the non-exercise activity calorie burn is actually the larger part of that. And the exercise activity is like, look, at the end of the day, if you're going to exercise even 1 hour, you're not going to burn a ton of calories. And there's a reason for that, because exercise is not really meant to help you burn calories. Exercise is actually an activity you do to strengthen your body in some way. So let's say if you do more cardio, you're doing that because you're trying to strengthen the heart. If you do a lot more like weights, strength, resistance training, you're trying to get the muscles, stronger, bigger maybe, retaining more of the muscles, still retaining and improving your certain daily functional movement patterns and things like this, right? Keeping your body healthy essentially. So that's the purpose of exercise, not really to burn calories. So if you are looking to kind of like maintain that metabolism in that sense, for the short term especially, getting your activity levels up, like what you said, getting that exercise in through just increasing non-exercise related activity is actually really, really important. Yeah. And then for the idea of jogging, like maybe people don't, maybe some of you they're listening might not like to jog, right? I know I don't like to run. Okay, that's one of the things that I dislike. So even a simple brisk walk can help, right? Even if you have a treadmill available to you in like the condo gym or gym nearby, whatever it is, 15, 20 minutes just on an incline there, like climbing up a hill, that works wonders in and of itself. So it really can be as simple as that 15, 20-minute little block. Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's something that I've started implementing recently. And the other thing that I do is when I go to the mall nowadays, is I'll try and park as far away from the door as possible. So one, it's less stress trying to find the parking bay because like here in our
Oh,
country
that's
where
so
it's really
good.
hot, everybody tries to park inside the mall, never mind in the parking
The
bay.
park is close to the entrance, right?
Yes. So I park a bit further out now, and then from that, it increases my step count. Plus,
Yeah.
if we do some good, decent shopping, I get some good farmer walks back to the car.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's the epitome of functional fitness right there.
I mean, going on from that, if we use it as a segue, like, would you say that there are any specific types of exercise that are like particularly beneficial for people in their 40s, who are looking maybe to lose weight or just improve overall health?
Um, well, if we talk about what, like, in order to answer the question, you probably need to understand like what's the general problem a lot of people in their 40s actually face, right? And a large portion of that is just most people in their 40s have been so busy with their work, with their family, just taking care of life, that they've neglected to keep their body strong. So I would say if you look at that from that perspective, in terms of exercise, what you want to do is you want to do really simple movements that allow you to gradually, increase the loading on them. In other words, like, lift heavier and heavier weights in a very like simple, easy manner. So choosing exercises that are relatively easy to do should be probably the best move in that sense. So what I'm suggesting is things like, going to the gym. If you have access to a gym, going to the gym and just using like the machines to train all the different muscles, especially if you have not been hitting the weights at all before. Yeah. Just going to the gym, going on some of those machines, let's say a leg press machine, just kind of get on it, and then just train your legs that way. A lot of times people will tell you, no, don't do machines because free weights is better than machines and all that sort of stuff, right? I'm sure you've heard that before, right, Mike?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, but the truth is this: anything that allows you to train the muscles in a relatively stable position is what you want to adopt. Okay, so if you are going in as a beginner, if you're going as somebody that is really like relatively untrained, and let's say you don't have a coach, you don't have a PT with you, machines are going to be your best bet because they put you into the position which makes you feel quite stable, and then you can actually exert some force. And through that practice, you start to gain awareness of what muscles you're using. From there, you get the adaptation, you get stronger, and then you can go and like next thing you know, you'll be able to do like a squat just because you have stronger muscles and you have better control and awareness of your body. And this is probably one of the things that a lot of PTs will not tell you, because if you look online, you probably see a lot of different like accounts that will tell you like, oh, you have to, there's a sequence, right? You have to be able to do this before you can do this, before you can do the next thing, eventually until you can do like a barbell squat or something. But I honestly, after looking at all these things, I find it's just a lot of gatekeeping. And really the truth is this, like you can take any beginner, and because I work with people online for the most part, right? When I set up a program for somebody that wants to go to the gym, but they're purely a beginner, I tell them, don't worry, you don't actually need anybody to guide you. Like it means you don't need anybody standing there looking at you doing these exercises, because I'm going to put you on all these machines that are going to be so foolproof. You're going to do them, and there's like even if you screw it up a little bit, it's easy. Number one, it's easy to tell you what to adjust. Number two, even the screw up's not going to put you at risk much, compared to like trying to do some free weight exercises.
You
So
know,
you
yeah.
would say, yeah, find the big machines, the easy ones like a leg press, a chest press machine, a shoulder press machine, a pull down machine. These are the ones that can really help. And then, if you're lucky enough, your gym has like one of those glute, either kickback machines or one of those hip thrust machines. Those are great as well. So start from there. Yeah.
Funny enough, I've actually gone back because I find like many times, especially in January, the bench press machine is usually, or not bench press machine, the press bench is quite
Oh
full
yeah,
up.
the fat bench is full.
Everybody's trying to hit their chest and buff it up for the new year. And so I've moved on from there, and I've actually moved back to the chest press machine, the one where
Mhm.
you sit up and then you push it forward like that.
Yeah.
And I found that it's actually enabled me. It gives me more of a stable base to push from because of the
Yes.
position that it puts you into. And from there, you're actually able to activate the muscles more because you're not worrying about, is this bar going to fall on me and kill me today, or is this going to be it? But instead, here
Yeah.
you can really just focus on the muscles itself, and you can feel the burn from each
Yeah.
push that you do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
okay,
And,
yeah,
and that's the thing, right? Like all these machines, if you look back at the history of when they were invented because they wanted to make it easier for people to train these particular muscle groups. Like literally that's it, right? A lot of the Arthur Jones kind of like Nautilus machines and stuff, they were created to make it easy for you to just like target that muscle that they're looking for. The quads, the hamstring, the chest, the shoulders, rear delts, whatever it is. So so the machines themselves honestly are a great introductory tool. And you can go like all the way, you can push as hard as you want. And again, like I mentioned, the injury risk is just so low. And it teaches you what to feel, right? You're going to start to feel certain muscles. Some will burn more than the others. And then you can start to reflect on that and be like, okay, is this machine supposed to target these muscles? How do I adjust, the form and all that? And then when you go online, I'm just assuming everybody's doing this like self-directed, right? So if you go online, you'll be able to kind of get a better way of filtering out the information that's being presented to you for you to go and try, right? Because now you have something, some benchmark to kind of work from. And then, the information makes a lot more sense rather than somebody coming in straight away, giving you that background and saying, and fear mongering you into saying like, oh, machines are worse than,
yeah.
weights. But at the end of the day, like how will you define they're worse than weights or they're better than weights or whatever, right? Like you have to have the context of it.
And every person is different as well.
Every person, yeah, exactly. Every person is different.
Because I might
That's
not
why,
have the flexibility to get into the bench press position, but I'm okay to go sit on the chest press position. Do you know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
exactly,
But
exactly.
I find like when I get this kind of questions that which is most beneficial,
Yeah.
my go-to answer is any exercise really. Like
Mm,
if you like to play basketball, go play
yep.
basketball 2 to 3 times a week. If you like to play tennis, go play tennis. If you like to walk in the park, go walk for 45 minutes a day. If you like to
Yeah.
run, by all means, go ahead and run. Don't
Yeah.
feel like you need to be put in a box just because like we covered the benefits of strength training in a previous podcast, and people are more than welcome to go and listen to that. But it's not the only exercise for us. It's the exercise of choice for a healthy lifestyle going forward, but it's not the only exercise choice. And the best one, the absolute best exercise that you can do is the one that you're going to stick to. So
100%.
if I come and say like, okay, Twain, from now on, no more basketball. What you need to do is lift weights. It's lift
Yeah.
weights or nothing. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I hate going to the gym, because I'm putting this kind of like black and white with you.
Pressure. Yeah, you're putting this pressure and this restriction on the person.
That's right. So I always say is like, go ahead and do whatever exercise you're most likely to continue with. And if that happens to be playing basketball, go ahead. If it's futsal, go ahead. But be consistent and be methodical. No, I wouldn't say methodical. Just be consistent about it.
Yeah. Now, I think it's important to be methodical about it. But when I say methodical, I don't mean overthink it. What I mean is like if again, understand your context, understand the awareness of like where you're starting from. Like if I were to go and play basketball, I know, yes, although I'm relatively fit, I'm very new to basketball, right? I haven't played it in a long, long time. So if I wanted to go and play basketball, maybe I'll start with something simple like just getting to the court, shooting hoops, right? From all different types of positions, shooting hoops, doing layups, small things like this. And then just kind of using that to kind of get a gauge for where my fitness level is. And the thing about this though is exercise like from activity is fantastic. But what you actually want to evolve towards, I see a lot of my clients like eventually hit that equilibrium, is they find the sport that they really enjoy doing and they want to get better at it. And then we can craft a plan in the gym that allows them to get better at the sport. So ultimately, like, look, my sport or my love is still like bodybuilding. So obviously that it overlaps directly with the gym.
Yeah.
But there's no denying that lifting weights is a very efficient and very targeted way of strengthening the body compared to a lot of other different activities. Because for a lot of other different activities, it's all about the outcome and the sport itself, not so much like the impact it has on the body, if that makes sense. Yeah. And a lot of times for sports as well, in order to get like the benefits, the physical um outcomes, I would say. Like if you look at, what the guy's name? The soccer player, Cristiano Ronaldo,
Oh yeah.
right? Yeah, so he's like ripped, right? He's like ripped,
Yes.
and then a lot of guys are like, oh cool, I want to look like Cristiano Ronaldo. I should play a lot of soccer. It's like, nah, not quite. Like number one, the guy plays a level of volume of soccer that the average person can't do that because literally that is his job. The other thing is he has actual gym training he needs to do to get better at sport. So there are all these elements in there.
But
And
don't forget number three. He's actually super strict with his diet.
yeah, I mean he has to be, right? Because
Yeah.
he has to be performing at that level. That literally again is his job, and it's what he has to do. But for a lot of people, they just kind of want to look good and all. I mean, we will touch on diet obviously in another episode, but like the diet plays a huge part, but also the type of exercise you do will also impact things. But if you haven't been getting any exercise, I think the main thing is if you haven't been getting any exercise, like what Mike said, start off with the thing that has the least resistance. Especially if you do not like to go to the gym. If you don't like to go to the gym, don't go to the gym first. Go and play a sport. Go and do something else. Find that love in the doing, and then once you get enough investment and you develop a passion for that thing, then you can start to look at the other tools at your disposal to get better at doing the thing and continue to cultivate that passion further.
Yeah. I think that's actually moves us very nicely into the next question as well. Is like once a person has started whatever exercise they're doing, is how can they actually stay motivated and consistent with their exercise routine? Because I mean,
Mm.
especially when they encounter setbacks or busy periods in their lives.
Yeah, that's a really good question, to be honest. I do think I don't have a perfect answer for this, but I do have an answer generalized from my experience with people. And that is that most people like to work towards something. So the main thing is you just have to define what is that thing that you're working towards at any one point in time. And this can even be, especially when you talk about a very disruptive, a very like peak period in your life. Where maybe there's all these stuff that's kind of culminating, overlapping together, and things are tough, and you're like, oh man, fitness is the last thing on my mind. Maybe that's your goal. Your goal is I just need to maintain some degree of my fitness right now. I'm not looking to improve in leaps and bounds. I'm not looking to make dramatic changes. I'm just looking to stay right where I am and make sure my fitness does not regress. Because with fitness, it's just like investing, right? Warren Buffett has those two rules. The first one is don't lose money, and the second one is don't forget rule number one. So fitness is the same thing, right? Like the first rule is don't let your fitness regress, And then the second rule is don't forget rule number one. So as long as your fitness doesn't regress, you are actually moving forward.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a big sign at the gym that I work at,
Hmm.
and it's very conveniently placed at the probably the high intensity interval training area. And it says there is, when you feel like quitting, think about why you started.
Hmm.
And I find that that is quite a relevant quote because, as you pointed out, there's always a reason the person has started their fitness journey.
Yeah.
One of those was that for me was after I had kids, I found is like I didn't quite have the energy that I had when I was younger. So when the kids want to go play, it's like it doesn't take long, and I'm huffing and puffing, and I can't keep up with them. And
Oh yeah,
I
I remember when you first kind of were telling me about that.
yeah. So you get these kind of things. Then there's also, the kids will come sometimes, they'll see something in a movie or whatever, and they're like, "Wow, okay, I hope their parents are never gonna die," or everything's like, "Hello, okay, it's ultimately that's always gonna happen." But let's try and stave it off by eating healthier and exercising and everything. And
Yeah.
so these always come into my mind whenever I'm exercising, and I'm like, oh, even in the mornings. I would say this week, actually, Monday, I
Yep.
woke up, there was like zero uh, motivation to go to the gym. That was the last thing on my mind. I was like, oh, no, I'm just staying home. No, I'm not going. But
Yeah.
I ended up, I was like, okay, I've got two choices here. I can actually fall into this and break out of my habit, or I can at least stick to the habit of going to the gym and continuing with the consistency that way. So what I did is I actually said, okay, let's go. I'll just get the steps in. Even if I just walk to the gym and walk back, that's already good enough for me. So I walked to the gym, and then while I was there, I was like, okay, let's actually just do a few exercises. So I ended up doing some lower body and some upper body exercises
Yep.
and good compound exercises so that I was targeting as many muscles as possible. And then I just called it a day. I didn't push to finish the entire workout and everything because I knew the energy, the motivation, everything was just not there for that day. And so I did that and then I walked back. Now, what was the benefit of that is that in my mindset, I overcame it's okay. If I'm tired, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
I'm putting my feelings above my goals here. And so I went and I still did the workout. And so I've got the tick in my habit tracker. So the next
Yeah.
day is much easier for me to wake up and off to the gym I go because now
Yeah.
I had a better night's sleep. The motivation is back and off I go and I have a great workout.
You did like another rep of discipline essentially, right? Like today the weight happened to be a bit heavier, but you managed to lift that rep in that sense, you know? And I think it's cool that you mentioned that because the idea here of overcoming your feelings and going to do the thing anyway, that is that is the thing that we all need to do. And it happens repeatedly, it happens in all these moments where in the flash of the moment, we don't want to go, but we still do it anyway. And that's really the thing that makes it easier to just get it done again the next time, And it's not that you will always do that, right? It's not,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not 100%. And I'm sure there are some days where you still fall victim to it, right? You might so-called fail, and I put that in inverted commas, you might fail. But it's okay, right? As long as those failures are very far spread out and you have a larger majority of going and getting the work done anyway, you're still going to get all the good results and you feel great, right?
Yeah.
You feel really, really good.
That's the point
Yeah.
that I think we should emphasize here is how you want to base it on feelings. You don't feel like going in the first place, but after the workout is done, you actually feel good. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if
No,
it's the
nobody,
endorphins that get
nobody
released or what, but
like nobody regrets getting their workout in,
yeah.
and there's an actual neurological change, a chemical change that happens when you actually go and work out. That actually that literally makes you feel better. Yeah.
All right.
So it's not, it's not wrong.
So
But that thing about sorry, but that thing about like motivation and finds like remembering your why are you starting, right?
yeah,
I think the part when you mentioned about having kids is quite powerful because a lot of the people I train are parents. And it reminds me of this thing that I saw. I saw on social media somewhere. It's probably Instagram, but I thought it was really, really good, especially if you're a parent, right? Which is, um, I think the quote goes something like this, or the person was saying, everybody says they will die for their kids, right? Like I'm sure you do that. But dying is actually easy because you only need to do it once. But are you willing to like live for your kids? Are you willing to do what it takes to actually
Right.
ensure that you continue living for your kids? Because you have to do that every single day.
Yeah.
And that's like when I heard that, I was like, oh man, shit, wow. That's a great way to frame it, right?
Mm.
Everybody's so willing to die, and in some senses, because we will automatically put the people that we care for like in front of us for sure. But sometimes we do that too much, we end up, getting the short end of the stick, and then we end up like shortening our capacity in that sense. So we still need to make sure we take care of ourselves. We still need to make sure we keep our capacity there to be able to take care of the people that we love.
And that also leads into like what we touched on in the previous podcast where people go and it's like, oh, I need to get back in shape. So they go get like the Arnold Schwarzenegger workout of 1975 to do in the current work stress and everything. And then they wonder why is this so difficult? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the motivation idea here, it's like it's cool to have some motivation here and there, but practice the doing, like it should be looked at as like practicing that muscle of delayed gratification, right? Like over your feelings, control over your feelings, if anything. It's emotional regulation. That's what discipline is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
motivation is about emotions, right? So that's how you control your motivation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. But I mean, what about beyond the physical benefits? Like incorporating regular exercise
Hmm.
improves a person's mental well-being and quality of life, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I think the concept of exercise for the mental state itself, right? It's like regardless if you're playing a sport, or let's say if we're talking about going to the gym, the idea and the metaphor of going to the gym is pretty cool, right? In sports, there's probably similar metaphors as well, but I'll use the gym because it's easier that way. So let's say you go and you lift this weight. You lift it until you fail a certain number of times, right? So that's your benchmark right now. And then you go back, you rest, you come back, give it another shot again the next session. And then you push it and you beat that again. You get a little bit of improvement because at the end of the day, in order for your body to adapt, you need to consistently keep improving. But the cool part is you don't actually have to improve like in dramatic amounts. You just have to improve by those little percentages. One more extra rep, maybe you add a little bit more weight. Maybe you do even the same weight and the same reps, but it feels easier, something like this. So it's just that idea of the progression. And that, like when you put yourself in that situation where you willingly overcome this kind of hard difficulties that you put on yourself, it teaches you a lot about how much you can push and how much more capable you are. Because a lot of times there's I think a lot of ladies, especially because I train so many ladies, right? Like a lot of them they start off not being able to do a push-up, for example. And then I say, let's set a goal. Let's try to set a
Mm.
goal for getting a push-up in. Like one, then they say, then this is the best part. They usually ask, oh, is it ladies push-up or like men's push-up? And like, there's no ladies push-up, there's no men's push-up. There's just a push-up. Every human being can do a push-up, whether ladies or men. You just have to see where you're at right now and work towards it if you cannot do it yet. So I say push-up, one full push-up. That's it. That's our first goal. And so we gradually make that progress. And some of them, they start off just push-ups on the wall, right?
Yeah.
I tell them to do 20, do 25. They'll be like, oh, this actually feels not too bad. I can feel a little bit of muscle burn and stuff like this, but they quickly gain that confidence, right? And then you bring it down lower and lower and lower, and then get closer and closer to the ground. And then next thing you know, after maybe like a month of doing it, now they can do a push-up. And then right now in their head, they've unlocked another level. They're like, shit, like for 5, 10 years, I never thought that this would be something that I can do. And then
Yeah.
just think of how powerful that is when you unlock in yourself this ability. Because now I've done this thing on my own because I was able to control all the actions that led up to this thing. And I really think that's what like getting the exercise in does for a lot of people. I mean, aside from just the mental benefits of, like you said, right? Just having that feel good, the endorphins post-exercise, all the
Yep.
feel good. But the far-reaching like productive benefits into the rest of your life really come from the fact that you put yourself in a situation, in a controlled, hard situation, and then you overcome it. And that just reinforces to you you can do things. You can push more. You can always go a little bit more. So I think really that's like the super important part about exercise. I mean, even in the sport, right? You want to run a bit faster. You want to score a bit more goals. You want to, have a higher shot percentage in basketball, whatever it
That's right.
is. Yeah.
I think for me, when I thought about this last time, there was quite a few that I actually came to. One is obviously it's like what you touched on, improved mood, and you can also reduce your stress due to the endorphins that are released from the actual workouts. Then the second one would be also touching on what you were saying is the enhanced self-esteem and confidence, you know,
Yeah.
from when you're going one extra rep or you're achieving something that you didn't achieve before. That helps to build your self-confidence.
Yeah.
And then that starts to overflow into the rest of your life too. The number three, and this one is very important for me, is you start getting much better sleep quality. I
Mm.
can tell on the days that I've worked out and the days that I've not worked out, my sleep quality is different. And my wife can attest to that with the amount of snoring that happens. The number
Do you
four,
snore more or snore less?
some secrets remain. The number four one would be like, depending on what exercise you're doing, it also helps to increase your social interaction. Like if you're doing sports, it gets you that time where you go, like when I used to play rugby, we
Yeah.
always say that you cannot build a bond without blood. So
Mm.
when you go and you bleed together on the field, that's really where you become brothers. And that's where you actually start developing relationships with everybody. Because for us guys, we usually very um, closed off, I think is probably the word we can use. Like if you put five guys in a room and you say, okay, have deep conversations, by the time you leave, the wife is like, oh, so what does that person do? I was like, oh, I don't know. It's like, where are they from? I don't know. What did you talk about? Oh, we talked about football or we talked about rugby. It's like very
Guys tend to
superficial.
talk about things rather than
Yeah,
like feelings and emotions and personal, very personal stuff.
that's right. So
But
another
the
one I
thing,
would say is it increases your resilience and coping
yeah,
skills
yeah,
because it puts you under a lot of stress during the exercise. So you're actually able to overcome that. And again, that also trickles over into the rest of your life. Um, let's also not forget that it will improve your cognitive function
yep,
because with that also increase your energy levels. So that's what I touched on earlier is that, with my kids, before I was huffing and puffing. Now I'm actually able to play a game with them and get them tired so that they can sleep better at night. Where previously, it's like I stand
yeah.
in the middle and they just run around me.
It's
As they
it's
get
it's one
older,
of
that game
those.
becomes a bit boring.
Yeah, I think one of the aspects for energy improvement is literally that most people, when you move more, you get stronger and you get more used to moving more. So just the regular day-to-day stuff doesn't take up as much energy to do anymore. Your tolerance just goes up so much more. And that's a big thing because energy is like everybody talks about time, right? Time as this limiting thing we have. And sure, time is this structural limit that we have. But within that time and within that day itself, we all have a finite amount of energy to give and attention to give, right? And a lot of this attention and energy is like if we can increase this capacity for it and let our like regular, normal, everyday things, not let that take up so much of our energy and our mental focus, then we have so much more to give to the more important stuff, which like we talked about here, it's a lot to do with like family and relationships and all these things that really make life in a way worth living, right? Like that's kind of the meat and potatoes of life. How we grow together as human beings and stuff.
That's right,
Without
and that's
you
about doing
do
life,
about
right?
it. Yeah. That's what doing life is all about, isn't it?
That's right. You don't just exist in life; you actually do life.
Yeah.
And I find is like, when you get caught up in work, I mean, if you're a very driven person and that's what brings you joy, fantastic. Go, by all means, go ahead. But it's not like the be all and end all of life. Life is also, as you're saying, is including all of these other elements. And then that's really where you start getting, um, well, especially for me, is that's where I really start getting joy out of life rather than just falling
It,
into the same.
Maybe if I was to summarize that up, it like doing exercise, getting fitter, putting your body in a better state allows you to just be more present in what you're doing.
Mm, that's a
If
good way to
anything,
put it.
allows you, yeah. Because like you think about it, also, I'm going to default back to the gym again, right? Like just because for me, what it actually serves more than just, I mean, I do bodybuilding, so it's my sport in a sense, but what it serves more than that is also my mental focus time away from everything else. It's like my, it sounds cliche, but it's like my therapy in a sense. And therapy is really just about like allowing your mind to process things and to clear those thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And to channel some of that pent up energy and frustrations you might have in your head, into something that maybe is a bit more conducive, or in a conducive way you let it out. And honestly, with the gym, it's like one of the easiest ways to do that. So in that sense, it is like therapy. Um, of course, it has its limits for sure. But every time you finish a workout, especially when I go into a set and I know, and because like we talked about, we see the numbers that we have to hit, and I say, oh man, I did this the previous week. I have to at least match this, or I have to go a little bit more. And then you do it, you're like, oh wow, cool. Like that's cool. I mean, I really push and I feel knackered, but like I did it, and it just makes you feel that much more powerful and that much better about yourself. And then you take that positive feeling, and then it follows you the rest of the day. So I really think that if you look at it from that lens, it really can help. And same thing with any sport you play. I used to be in the Dragon Boat team long time back, when I was in uni, and a lot of times, like, I think that the same thing you mentioned about when playing rugby, right? With your teammates, with your brothers, so to speak, if you're all bleeding, like for us, if we're all, blood, sweat, and water in the blood, sweat, and tears in the water on the boat, and we're all just pushing and just pushing together, it just helps to build up that social bonding, that understanding, and that fulfillment level of just being part of something bigger than yourself. Yeah. It feels
Yeah.
good. At the end of the day, it feels good. It just makes things feel good.
That's right. What I mean, if we had to close off here, because I think we've covered a lot of the things that we can think of. But if we had to close off, would you have any further advice for people who like in their 40s or whoever who are taking the first steps towards a more active lifestyle?
Um, I should just plug our coaching services and say, hey, if you are struggling, let's come in and have a chat, and then let's do it. Let's figure out a plan for you. But honestly, like if you're just starting out, the first step is literally the most important thing, right? Like just take that first step. It doesn't really matter what you do. Like Google something, find a plan, just go and follow it. It can be from our site, our website, our own programs, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. The idea here is you definitely want to get started. But where I would suggest you start is, especially if you're not active in the first place, is just get active. Clock more steps. Go for more walks first, go for more jogs. Just get moving, just get started that way. And then find some sort of sport, especially, or maybe a community class, something that you can go to that has people around you, that you go for, and then you have some social element that will pull you towards it. You do it, you can see whether it's fun, and then you can take it from there. Because you just need to start doing things first before you can figure out what you need to do next.
Mm.
If you don't do, you're not going to. You can think forever and overanalyze shit, and you end up just not doing anything at all. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the best slogan we got here is the Nike one, right? Just do it.
let's do it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that is probably the primary thought that everybody, or the primary action that everybody needs to do when they choose a new lifestyle is you've chosen it, now just go do it. Don't think too much about the details and all that kind of stuff, but just go and do it. If you want to go and walk, just go and walk 45 minutes a day, wherever, in the park, around your block, up and down your bedroom, however you want to do it. But just clock in the more steps so that you can start getting back into the action of movement rather
Yeah.
than looking at the sedentary lifestyle that most of us got
And, and,
accustomed to.
and and I know most people want like a prescription, right? So let me give you a simple prescription here. Just like 25% more. Just start from there. Because that's the rule, the half of half rule. Basically, you take like what's your goal, right? You divide it by half, and then you take that halfway mark and divide it by half again. And so I just call that 25%, right? So if you are, let's say you look at you take out your phone right now and you look at what your step count is, or if you have a Fitbit or whatever it is, it tracks that. Check your Apple Watch. If you say something like you're doing 4,000 steps, then just do 5,000, that's 25% more. If you're doing 5,000 steps, try to aim for 7,000, something like this. It doesn't have to be super exact. It's not rocket science. Just get started. But at least there's a prescription there. You can get started with that.
Awesome. I think that's probably a good place to stop there. So that's a good
Yep.
action point for people to go and implement.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dwayne.
No worries at all. Thanks, Mike. Always a good
We'll
chat.
we'll have another one on the next one. All right.
Yeah. See you
Ciao.
guys.
See ya.